Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Hamas reviews Gaza mediators intensifying ceasefire efforts. Bandits capture, take control of Kankara local government area in Katsina State. Court sentences Timileyin Ajayi to death by hanging. And Deputy Senate President Barrow declares total loyalty to Tinubu. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The World News at 12 begins outside the shores of Nigeria, where a senior Hamas official has told journalists that mediators intensify their efforts to broker a new ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza, but that negotiations with Israel remain stalled. The comment came as US President Donald Trump said great progress was being made since Israel and Iran ended their 12-day war on Tuesday, and that his envoy Steve Witkoff thought an agreement between Israel and Hamas was very close. Israeli attacks across Gaza on Wednesday killed at least 45 Palestinians, including some who were seeking aid, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Meanwhile, the Israeli military announced that 7 soldiers were killed in a bomb attack on Tuesday, claimed by Hamas. In a recent development, the armed bandits led by Kingpin Babaru have stormed the Kankara local government area of Katsina State and taken over the entire area. Security analyst Bakatsine revealed in a post on his X handle that the bandits have already killed several people and banned farming activities in the area. Security analysts actually revealed that Kankara has been a long hotbed of terrorist attack and kidnapping activities in Katsina State. Authorities are yet to comment on the situation. In a similar development, the Defense Headquarters will deploy over 800 special forces in troubled states like Benue, Plateau, and Borno to complement troops in combating their security challenges. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa made this known shortly before Army spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Apollonia Anele announced the death of 17 soldiers during a gun battle with bandits in Niger State. 10 other soldiers were injured by the bandits during the incident in Bangui, Mariga local government area. The number of bandits neutralized by troops was, however, not given by the spokesperson. At the Defense Headquarters training seminar in Abuja yesterday, General Musa revealed that members of the Special Force are currently undergoing comprehensive training on how to tackle the rising threat to the nation's security. A high court in Lafia, Nasarawa State, has sentenced Oluwa Timileyin Ajayi, the suspected killer of a National Youth Service Corps NYSC member Salome Adaidu, to death by hanging. Justice Simon Aboki, who handed down the judgment, found Ajayi guilty of killing and dismembering Salome Adaidu. He had been charged with 1 count of culpable homicide, contrary to Section 221 of the Penal Code of Northern Nigeria, and punishable by death. Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau has reaffirmed his unwavering loyalty to President Bola Tinubu, describing him as his political father and pledging to carry out any directive from the president. Barau made a declaration on Wednesday while addressing National Assembly correspondents during a briefing on the upcoming Constitution Review Town Hall meetings. He described the president as a magnanimous leader who has consistently stepped in to assist others, recalling how the president supported him during political turbulence in Kano State, saying, and I quote, "The president saved me when I was in murky political waters," end quote. He added that President Tinubu's success is a shared victory for all progressives. The crisis within the People's Democratic Party (PDP) intensified on Wednesday as Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde and former River State Governor Nyesom Wike clashed over the scheduled date for the party's 100th National Executive Committee meeting and the reinstatement of Senator Samuel Anyanwu as National Secretary. Makinde's camp, which includes Governors Peter Mba of Enugu State, Duye Diri of Bayelsa, Ademola Adeleke of Osun, Dauda Lawal of Zamfara, 11 NWC members, and several party chieftains insist the next meeting must hold on June 30 as planned. They are also opposed to Anyanwu's return as National Secretary. In contrast, Wike's allies, Governors Caleb Mutwang of Plateau State, Kefas Agbu of Taraba, Adamu Fintiri of Adamawa, Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, Acting National Chairman Umar Damagum, National Organizing Secretary Umar Bature, and the National Legal Advisor Kamal Dean Ajibade, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, are all pushing for Anyanwu's restatement annulment and the postponement of the next meeting. The deepening division comes just 24 hours after Damagum led top party officials to a high-level fact-finding session with the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja. During a press conference on Wednesday at the party secretariat in Abuja, Damagum announced the reinstatement of Senator Anyang as National Secretary and the postponement of the party's 100th National Executive Council meeting. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break and return with more stories and the news analysis segment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Let's take more stories. Tragedy struck at the Eke Ubaheze Market Square in Awidemili, also local government area of Imo State on Wednesday, as a landmine explosion claimed the life of a market woman identified as Mrs. Ngozi Ume and injured at least 5 others. The incident, which occurred at about 2:40 p.m., sent shockwaves through the local community, disrupting trading activities and throwing the quiet village into panic. Confirming the incident, the spokesperson of the Imo State Police Command, ASP Henry Okoye, said preliminary investigations indicated that the explosive device was a landmine suspected to have been planted by members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its militant wing, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. He added that 5 others who sustained various degrees of injuries during the explosion were currently receiving treatment at an undisclosed hospital. Local sources, however, claim that the number of fatalities may be higher, with some residents insisting that 2 people lost their lives in the blast. Following the explosion, Commissioner of Police in the state, Aboki Danjuma, immediately deployed operatives from the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit, tactical teams, and personnel from Orsu and Olu divisions to secure the area. ASP Okoye said the market and surrounding vicinity was swept for any additional improvised explosive devices, IEDs, and later declared safe. CP Aboki Danjuma expressed deep condolences to the bereaved family of Mrs. Ume and offered prayers for the quick recovery of the injured. In a further development, the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the State Criminal Investigation Department has been directed to launch a comprehensive investigation to identify and apprehend those behind the deadly explosion. We're heading to the news analysis segment. I have Esther Wachuku joining me via the telephone to actually talk about this situation where the police in Imo State have blamed IPOB and ESN for the landmine explosion that happened at Eke Ubaheze Market in also local government area of Imo State. Esther, good afternoon. Esther, can you hear me? Good afternoon.
The line is, the connection is disrupted. Okay, so what was your question?
Hello, Esther, can you hear me?
Because the connection is very poor. What was the question? Can you repeat your question again?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Esther, for joining me this afternoon. Now, the police in Imo State, yesterday, unfortunately, tragedy unfolded in Eke Ubaheze Market, where a woman stepped on the landmine, and unfortunately, by the time she was rushed to the hospital, she was dead. The police, after preliminary investigation, said that this landmine was suspected to have been planted by IPOB or ESN members in the area. But the question on the lips of many is, you say after preliminary investigation, why not extensive investigation before you actually begin to blame one group or the other for planting this landmine, especially with the spate of insecurity in the area?
Our Imo State in general has been a hotbed of several menaces, from supposed unknown gunmen who are obviously known by a couple of people, to the federal government ascribing to any unfortunate incident, or the Nigerian security agencies ascribing to any form of incident on IPOB and ASN, to the Fulani terrorists who have been pervading almost all communities in Imo State and some southeastern states. But the community you mentioned also, Choma, if you go there now, that land is bedridden. It's completely deserted. Osu is like a no man's land. What I mean by that is you cannot see vibrant people in that community, vibrant young men in that community. ever since the whole situation with the President Simon Ekpa boys and the creation and whatever that took place in Osu particularly. So my question is this. Now, somebody stepped on a landmine mistakenly. Unfortunately, she lost her life. Very, very tragic. Preliminary investigation means, okay, primary on-the-ground assessment. What type of IED that was, the location that IED was planted. Shoma, if there have been no conclusion, why ascribe it to a group? So you've been hearing about terrorists parading some of this from some states, even the Southeast themselves. It couldn't be that. It's not their MO. That is my issue, Chama. A lot of young boys have died like this. Let me give you a scenario that recently happened. I don't know if you could recall last year, December. There was a particular media mogul that traveled to the Southeast. This media mogul was with security escorts, like DSS operatives, but they were in Mufti. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Esther. Please go ahead.
They were in Mufti. They were in a car. They got to a military checkpoint. They asked them to alight from the vehicle. They alighted. They asked them questions. Who are you? Where are you going? Where are you coming from? They gave all of those explanations. They said, please present your identity card. They presented their identity card. They presented their work card. The DSS operatives presented their own. They kept asking questions. Are you sure you're a proper DSS operative? They said yes. They said, okay, where are you from? What is your command? Who is in charge of your lead? They did all of that. But those guys refused it. The next thing they asked them to do was lie down on the floor with the butt of the gun, the barrel of the gun directed at their heads on the floor. Now, while they were barraging those men, they kept telling them, call the unit. Call the unit right there in that just call. They will confirm to you. Those guys did not want to do that. They kept shouting that they were kidnappers, they were armed robbers, they were IPOB, that if they waste them, they would simply say that they're IPOB members and nothing will happen. And Shoma, it has been happening over time. You see, when it comes to the way they deal with these terrorists, they apprehend them, they take them in, they try to, according to them, they rehabilitate them, all right? After rehabilitating them, they de-radicalize them, rehabilitate them, and reintegrate them. The same gesture is not extended in that region. They shoot you at sight. And nobody will say anything because they supposedly prescribed IPOB. So as a young boy, your vocal, whatever, you're a criminal from that region immediately. So nobody is saying, according to the police, nobody is saying that it is not what it is, but suspected to be committed or suspected to be the MO or the handwork of IPOB members. Suspected. How are you supposed to do that? Trauma, in a same time, when an unfortunate incident happens, you hear the police spokesperson there say something like, investigations are ongoing. We haven't verified the source of this incident. We haven't yet to verify the primary objective of this criminal act. We're yet to verify who planted this, but we will let you know when investigations are concluded. Very simple. Very simple. So, Trauma, in a community that has been deserted, somebody will plant a landmine there for who? Did you hear that the police and the military are not within the communities? They are usually on the express road. Most times when invaders come into these communities, you don't see any policeman or any military man around there. So the question is, who are you targeting by placing a landmine on the roadside? I'm just asking a question.
Esther, do you think the reason...
If you want to do something like that, if you know certain areas that the people you're targeting usually apply, that's where you put something like that. One can even understand that if it was in the bush or in some certain terrain, that okay, it is indeed the supposed IPOB members as they have ascribed or ESN members. You haven't concluded your investigation. How do you know it is IPOB? How do you know it is what do you call it? How do you know it's ESN? How do you know it's Fulani terrorists before you start calling any name? It's just it. And it's this wrong affiliation, this wrong profiling has led to the death of a lot of young people. No prosecution follows, they just shoot you aside based on wrong profiling. It's appalling. appalling, it's abhorrent, it's not proper, it's not right. So there should be a process, there's a modus operandi to this thing. Once you've gotten a wind of the situation, you assess the situation, conclude an investigation, then let the press know that based on our concluded investigation and a couple of assessments, witness reports, whatever, and other similar incidents, this is possibly, any same person could put it like that. So maybe there are other incidents of IEDs planted, and the IEDs have a similar pattern in certain strongholds operated by, let's just say, according to them, IPOB members or ESN members. Then you can conclude that it is them.
Esther,
haven't done that.
This brings to mind a particular news item from November last year where a high court in Abuja actually ordered that 50 people who were suspected to be IPOB members and also arrested by the police, allegedly involved in terrorism, and the court had to let them go because they said there was no proof, no evidence. The police could not present any evidence to show that these people they arrested were actually involved in terrorist activities or that they were even IPOB members. So why do you think there is that laziness?
Those people are lucky to be alive. Because most times when they catch them like that and profile them, they shoot them on sight, put them in their hillocks, stock, and dump them somewhere in shallow graves. You can imagine that. It's been the order of the day. You don't have proof. You just met a set of people somewhere. Maybe they look a certain way or they were vocal. Because of how things, because of the way the system is, once you profile and just because of how people feel towards IPOB members or ESN members, immediately that is called. There's no redemption for you. In fact, nobody would ask for you to be left alive. Those people are even lucky that they took them to the police station, kept them in custody for a while and took them to court. They were so lucky. Maybe their family members had to ensure that they remained alive. Because normally, Choma, what happens is they clear them out. There's no opportunity for any going to court, no prosecution, nothing takes place compared to what happens to our counterparts in the other region. Those ones are taken in, then they go through the normal court process. Sometimes they get pardoned. Sometimes they spend some years behind bars and come back. Sometimes there's an extension of pardon where they say they have repented and then they reintegrate them and then they put them within the security apparatus, security formation. That kind of grace is not extended in this region. I'm not saying that the police may not be right in their preliminary conclusion or preliminary assessment, but have you concluded your investigation before you ascribe? This is simple. So our institutions will learn to do better. When crime becomes the order of the day, it brings to question the sanity within our institution that is meant to maintain law and order. When you are involved in the process that has caused degeneration in how things are done in the country, it is a clarion call on such an institution to sanitize themselves, and there should be proper orientation. We've been saying this over and over. Until if that is not done, we'll continue to see incidents like this.
And of course, we will continue to hold our security agents accountable for the lives of Nigerians. Esther, thank you so much for joining me.
It's very unfortunate what happened with the woman. We're not in a war zone. I don't understand why anybody's planted any landmine anywhere.
In a market, that people are attending, a K market for that matter.
That is what I'm saying. It's alarming for a landmine to be planted in a market where we're not in a war zone. This is not Palestine. This is not Gaza. This is not Sudan or South Sudan. This is not DR Congo. Neither is this in Haiti. So why are we experiencing this?
Esther, guess what? Yesterday there was a shootout during a stop and search in Anambra State, right? So the police were organizing a stop and search in a particular on a particular road beside a petrol station. Now, some eyewitnesses were saying that the police officers were unaware that the vehicle that they stopped was being used by DSS operatives, right? So when they stopped the DSS operatives, they resisted the move, which it degenerated into a shootout, leading to the unfortunate death of one policeman. during this particular
It even
situation?
tells you that our security formations don't trust themselves, because ideally, if the DSS is conducting an operation and they're coming to a particular vicinity where they're not the ones in charge of, they're meant to actually communicate that they have an investigation, or they'll be applying that access. They have an agenda there, but it's covered. But they cannot communicate among themselves because they know that they have moves among themselves. There's meant to be communication. If you're coming to a province that you're not the one in charge of, due communication needs to be done, so that agents along the axis will know that, okay, something is going down here. They are well informed, and nobody would even know anything. So even the security armament, the security outfits, they don't trust themselves. That is why I'm telling you something, Shoma, that if they don't decide to reorganize themselves, if they don't sanitize themselves, if they don't build the trust among themselves as an institution, you see this element of Lucifer, they will continue to have the upper hand in this country. Because tell me precisely what led to that shootout. If there was proper communication, there would have been no need for that. Now a policeman who was stationed there doing his job has just died from another agency that is responsible for implementing law and order. So what do you call that? What do you call it? Chaotic disorder in a democratic leaning? I don't know how to define it. I don't understand. It's the anyhowness of everything. The anyhowness of everything everywhere. It's the brazenness of the anyhowness everywhere, and it's the order of the day. From all the vital institutions that are meant to strengthen our democracy. Sure, it's unfortunate.
It's really unfortunate, and it seems that Nigerians, we are just used to that level of lawlessness and anyhowness. It almost seems like that is what Nigeria is synonymous with right now. But like I keep saying, we'll continue to hold the government and all our security agencies accountable. The life of every Nigerian is worth everything, and really we should be kept safe in our country. Esther, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and actually thank you for weighing in on this particular topic this afternoon. Have an amazing day. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a few more stories, and then we'll call in Mr. Awa Omiko for part 2 of the analysis segment. Welcome back. Still on the World News at 12. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced that it will conduct by-elections across the affected constituencies on Saturday, August 16 this year. The elections are being organized to fill vacant seats in the national and state assemblies, which have arisen due to resignations, deaths, or court annulment. I have Mr. Awa Omiko on the line to discuss other issues on the World News at 12 this afternoon. Thank you for joining me, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to talk about a particular situation or a particular statement that was made by the Deputy Senate President yesterday, where he has declared total loyalty to President Tinubu, calling him or describing the president as his political father. And he also pledged to carry out any directive from the president. He said the president saved him when he was in murky political waters in Kano State. Now the question is, you recall that the Deputy Senate President Barao Jibrin was also vying for the post of Senate President, but he steps down for Godswill Akpabio, who is now Nigeria's current President of the Senate. When the Senate, right, you have the President, the Executive, you have the Judiciary, our courts, our judges, the Chief Justice, and all of that, and then you have the Senate, you have the House of Assembly, you have the Legislature. All of this, there's supposed to be checks and balances within these three different arms of government. But when you have one person from one arm of government saying that somebody from the executive is their political father and they will do whatever that person wants, does it mean that, oh, whatever bills this person brings, we're going to sign it, we're going to pass it, whatever this person asks us to do, we're going to do it? Is this pandering? And when the opposition says that democracy is dead in Nigeria, can we say this is an example?
Well, that is not far from the truth. You can see the speed and haste at which they passed the national anthem bill to change it and everything just without due and deep thinking, and it was changed immediately. And the bill was assigned and approved. And you can see other things in terms of their welfare, and they shows that, and other bills being passed. All this shows that as senators, well, apologies to some, most of them are just there as jobbers, hanging on the fact that the whatever thing the president asks them to do is what they are going to do. In advanced countries, in places where democracy has its roots, firmly rooted, the Senate are wise people. They are people tested, people of integrity, people that have excelled in other fields. These are the people that are well in the Senate. Not somebody because you are very close to somebody, you just move there. Look, how can a senator, how can he just open his voice out before the people? Even if he is your political godfather or political creator or whatever it may be. Is that the type of thing you come to the public domain to say? Why don't you conceal it or keep it to yourself? These are some of the things we're saying, that our senators are not tested people, despite the fact that they just claim that. Anyway, it shows the level of electorate we have. And that is just what is happening. In some places, in some countries, they would have recalled him for making such a comment. Now, and you can even see that...
But when you talk about recall, Mr. Awamiko, many of these people talk like it wasn't even the votes of the people that put them there in the first place. So there is no fear of recall because they believe that this will not happen.
Well, that is exactly what I'm equally saying. Because here, what we do is not democracy, but moneycracy. When you practice moneycracy, that is the type of thing you get. Is a democracy of the highest bidder. And a democracy of who you know. All of them, they are cronies. They have their cronies. They have their godfathers and godmothers. Some of them are even there appointed by a traditional ruler to go and be in the Senate. Is that the type of, how do you expect to get the best for a country? And that is why you can see, when you really want to test the Senate, the power of the Senate, you go to US or UK. Because these are men that are skilled, men of integrity and tested in various fields of human endeavor. But how many of them have even been in business for long? But they will be there. How many of them can even say this is they have dwelt in one field of learning or human endeavor for close to 20 or 30 years? But they are there making laws. Some of the laws they are even making. In fact, they are more or less like puppets to the presidency. So that is exactly what is playing out. And that is why you can tell that most of the things that is happening now in Nigeria is things are not just working.
And it seems that they really are not paying attention. I also want to remind you of when the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, said to the president, whatever bill you bring here, we will sign it, right? So does it mean that these laws are being made to favor the executive and not to favor Nigerians who are actually the ones that are subject to these laws?
It only shows that it is the presidency that is ruling the Senate. That is exactly what it shows. If a Senate president can say whatever bill you bring, what are the Senate for? The Senate is the last, they are the think tank. They are the think tank of the country. That is why it's called House of Wise Men. That is what they call in open plans. House of Wise Men. Because these are people that are tested in the society, in all facets of life. It's a congregation of people that have been tested. But here, what do we do? And some of them are even handpicked to go and represent your constituency. And because of that, because of the type of democracy we are practicing, there's always a lockout between the Senate and the electorate and even the grassroots. Because if you begin to apply the theory and laws of recall, if you have no basis, no hold on them, And because they don't have any fear, they don't have any fear to anybody because they believe they don't even owe allegiance to the electorate. That they owe allegiance only to their said godfathers and those that appointed them. And that is why they behave anyhow and talk anyhow. And you could even see it now. See what is playing out. And you're still going to see more of those shamble statements and shamble legislations. They are dishing out. It shows the level of integrity, the level of intelligence, the level of intellectuals that have gathered there. And I wonder, and I beg to be corrected, I beg to see it, if Nigerian Senate can truly be said it's a garden of wise people. I don't believe that.
You know, one more thing that the Deputy Senate President said was that the President stood by him, of course, in critical political moment. The President secured his Senate ticket and ensured his emergence as Deputy Senate President. How can we ensure that the executive does not have a say on what goes on in the legislature or does not foist lawmakers on Nigerians?
The legislature, I think the Nigerian legislature has been, it goes anti-clockwise. The real theory in the real sense has been thwarted to me to be now, going by the way things are in Nigeria, it's just an extension of the executive. Once they go there, you give them whatever thing, let them have whatever money they say, hey, Mr. President, and the bill passes. When last can we say, when we can, if you compare what we have in the legislatures now to 1979, you can see that what we have now has been watered down. In 1979, where there used to be a real debate, there was a real debate. But now, what is the debate all about? The debate about bills, about their welfare, and envelopes that goes out. That is why we don't have quality legislation. And it has now, because of the way they were appointed, because of who that brought them there, they don't have the power, they don't have the fortitude, they don't have the courage to stand and challenge Mr. President whenever things are going wrong. And you look at the security, the security issue. What happened? Nobody is talking about it. Do you know that in 1979, President Shehu Shagari was almost removed because net building was burning, and he traveled to India. And when he said, when he got to know, coincidentally, it happened to the day he traveled, he came back immediately. And when he came back, he had to apologize to Nigerians that this is that. If not, he was near almost impeached him. Can that happen now? No. So
you know, Mr. Awamiko, one would think that even if this were the situation and certain people in political circles actually know, like he said, that President Tinubu is his political father, that he wouldn't come out and make this known to Nigerians, so that we do not begin to look at him through that lens of bias of saying, okay, whatever he does is just trying to pander to the president. Why do you think he's able to come out and say this? Is it because he knows that there's nothing, Nigerians can do about it? Nobody can recall him, whether he's working for his constituents or not? And also, do you think this is just pandering? Because there have been talks of maybe him replacing Vice President Shetima as President Tinubu's running mate in 2027.
Well, he has only said that. I can't, because by going by my thinking, I don't think he's trying to push himself forward for that replacement. But if that be, it shows the level of the poverty in thought. If that be, it shows poverty in thought. And he was able to come out with such statement, such careless statement, because he knows he has the power to say whatever thing he has, and nobody will do him anything. He knows the institutions that can hold him are there, but useless. And he knows that the people there themselves are so docile that they don't have the power to even recall him. And you know that the presidency is so powerful that whatever he says in his support will be. So it's just like taking the electorate for granted. And that is what all our democracy seems to be. That is our definition of Nigerian democracy. They take the electorate for granted and they can do anything and go scot-free. say anything that goes scot-free. Whereas a senator's statement in a place where real democracy is practiced holds water. And it holds water. And they don't just speak anyhow. As I said earlier on, the Senate is a gathering of wise men. So wise men don't just talk like that. It's not the baby senator. And Senate are not meant for everybody. It's meant for those that have been tested, tried, and those that have integrity. And integrity in the sense that if you are there by what you earn in the society, not by just being appointed to go and represent a constituency. And again, because we are practicing moneycracy, and that is why what we're having is just like that. The real people that should be in the Senate don't have the money to go there. And those that have the money to go there are those that cannot give us quality legislation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Awamiko. Just before you go, insecurity keeps ravaging different parts of the country. The Defense Headquarters is planning to deploy 800 special operatives to 3 troubled states, Benue, Plateau, and Borno. What can 800 operatives do against the armed terrorists that are actually terrorizing these areas? While we're talking about this, a whole local government area in Katsina State have been overtaken. The bandits have banned farming activities in the area. They impose levies on the people, tell them what to do and what not to do, when to come out of their houses, when to stay inside, just generally taking over the government of that area. Again, what can 800 individuals, yes, we know they are special forces, specially trained, but from what we've seen, these terrorists attack with precision. They have their own intel, they have sophisticated weapons. So how can 800 forces spread across 3 states actually help keep the people in these states and these local governments secure?
It shows that poverty in ideas and thinking. We most times fail to realize that some of these people were even sending that. That was yesterday. I wasn't yesterday or a few days ago. I said Nigerians train their personnel to kill them. That was what I said. Now, how are you going to send 800 to different local governments? And these 800, you have terrorists or bandits from different countries. These bandits, going by the sophistication of weapons they carry, will even outsmart these 800. How will they even do that? So people will say in modern warfare that number does not count. It is a strategy and weapon that count, as it can be played out in Israel and US and Iran war. Then you still discover that we have not matured to that level where we begin to say it is strategy and weaponry that counts. These people are people that will meet you on the ground. Where is your attention? Where did they even intelligence? Why did you even allow these people to come in? How can you nip it in the bud? If you can't nip these things in the bud, then with the 800 you are sending there, it's just a flash in the pan, and they will have no effect. They will be so ineffective that by the time they go there, the terrorists or whatever, or the bandits will be capturing them as if our soldiers were properly trained. So we should know this thing. We shouldn't even allow it to even have got to this level, if not for the conspiracy theory, which some people within are even the ones empowering and financing this terrorism and banditry. If not, these things will not happen. And you know that with this 800, these people too will go back and reinforce themselves. They keep on importing themselves in here. How can you look at a state, and the terrorists? In fact, it's laughable, and it shows that we are still not yet serious. And that is why I refer to the Senate. I said the Senate doesn't even know. Most of them don't even know why they are there. Why would they be there? And some issues like this are going on. You are keep on talking that you are Tinubu is your godfather. In fact, if you were to be in a place, we would have been amount to death. They should be thinking of this security. And do you know the ripple effect of taking over a state? Do you know the ripple effect on the economy? Do you know the ripple effect on the people, the cycle of the people? And do you know the ripple effect on our nation? Even Lagos State, that is far away from the scene. It has a telling effect. It shows that we are so porous as a country. It shows that we cannot control our security network. It shows that our people are so gullible, and it shows that we still have saboteurs within us. And when you have saboteurs conspiring with these people to make sure that the state is ungovernable, it becomes another thing. No nation. It shows we are not yet a nation. And that is why I said, until we are patriotic, we can't move Nigeria forward. Changing the national anthem is not it. We still believe in a nationalistic concept. And then no matter how you view it, nationalism amounts to sectionalism and tribalism. But if you say patriotism, it amounts building, having that conscientious effort that you have no other country than Nigeria and working for it. So the 800 to me is like a child's play. Let them know how to recruit the people and let them know how to replan. And what are one of the ways of replanning? Let them set up vigilantes. These vigilante groups are neighborhood watch. You can't know my vicinity, my neighborhood more than an outsider cannot know my neighborhood more than myself. I know where to catch them and I know where to dodge. If you are coming to my house and I know how to escape, but if you bring somebody, an outsider, to come and arrest somebody in my house, if you don't have the leading of those within that neighborhood, you'll be a gunner. So they should work in line, in synergy with the local vigilante people, and they should work in synergy with the traditional rulers. In fact, I don't know one of the presidents of Nigeria that once said, if there's a banditry activities in your community or terrorist activities in your community, that the traditional leader stands to be removed. If we could hope that, it will help to raise our local intelligence, and we'll be able to fight these things, this insecurity that it seems to be even bigger than
It's quite unfortunate, Mr. Awamiko. Very unfortunate. But we will keep calling on our security agencies to do the best that they can, right? When you talk about the fact that 800 men cannot displace these terrorists with their sophisticated weapons, and you really have just answered my question. Let us make sure that we're not sending our men to the front lines to die. And these 800 special forces hope that they're also going with the kind of weapons that they can actually use to repel these terrorists. I need to really end the news session right now, Mr. Awamiko. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Do have an amazing day. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that Hamas has revealed that Gaza mediators intensified ceasefire efforts. Bandits capture, take control of Kankara local government area in Katsina State. Court sentences Timileyin Ajayi to death by hanging, and Deputy Senate President Barrow declares total loyalty to President Tinubu. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP 903 FM for coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned in our news bulletins. Please send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Matters will be coming up shortly with Solomon Ofem.